Stunned silence. That's what it was like at mime school. Stunned silence, yeah. So we used to do a bit of mime, and actually it's funny because mime and filmmaking, and Chris will know this, Chris Brooks there, a counsellor at Thetford, just sort of introduce that and embarrass him, who's done some amazing stuff in Thetford, getting the council sorted out. Council is... yeah, they're doing some. They are the original Biggleswick. I don't know if you ever saw my video on Biggleswick. Yeah, there we are, a couple of people. I'll tell you about Biggleswick. I mentioned Biggleswick before, and I asked how many people had heard the video. I can't remember how long ago it was that I sat on my little chair, and I had this idea of Biggleswick. Now, I don't know if anyone's been to Biggleswick. It's a lovely small little market town just between Goodfordshire and Bestham, the two counties you're probably very familiar with. And the people of Biggleswick found that their town council had come up with this slightly weird idea that it would restrict how many times they could go across the town. I found that if you did more than 100, they were going to fine them. And not only that, they were going to put in cameras. And in fact, if Biggleswick hadn't done what Biggleswick did, they'd probably have 20-mile-an-hour speed limits going up left, right and centre. And because they were a bit annoyed with this, because plant pots started to appear, they went to the council, a number of them, and said, excuse me, we're not very happy with this concept because some of us have got jobs. You know, quite a few of us actually, and we need to pay, you know, the council tax as well as other utility bills. I mean, they were a bit naive in those days. And they said, no, we'd rather not have this. And Biggleswick Council, you know, came down and said, oh, I see, yes, oh, that's interesting, thanks very much. But you're having it. And they said, no, sorry, you misunderstood. We're the people of Biggleswick, we live here, and we don't really want these things that you're implementing. Thank you very much, nice idea, but no thanks. And the council said, no, you obviously didn't hear me, you're having it. And the people of Biggleswick went, well, hang on a minute, this is a bit strange because we pay the council tax to pay them. And they thought, you know, this is happening and they're not doing the stuff that we want. So a number of the people started to put up posters in the town and said, we're going to have a town meeting. And so they tried to organise it in the town park, but the council got wind of this and said, no, you can't do that. They closed the park on the day. So they actually went to a farm just outside the town, private farm, private space. And they organised this town meeting, inviting everybody, you know, if you weren't happy with this sort of 100 times across and fining and cameras and, you know, a little bit of biometrics and all of this sort of CCTV and all of this everywhere, come to the meeting. So they all came to this meeting in this farm, and basically they said, look, this is the council are just still going ahead. How many people here don't want this? And the majority of people were sort of going, well, we don't want none of that. Not here. Here's another great thing to do. My tractor, I'm going to get across there. I don't want to be another. So most of the people at Biggleswick were sort of going, actually, no, you're quite right. We don't like this. But what can we do? It's the council, you know. They're run by the government. What can we do? So one bright spark said, well, why don't we have another council? Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'm narrow mind thinking, I am. I think inside the box. You can't do like alternative, can you? Why not? Well, I don't know why not. Surely they'll stop you. Well, if we're the people of Biggleswick, said this chap, if we're the people of Biggleswick and most of the people, say 85%, decide they don't want something, we live here, we work here, this is our town, our ancestors built this place, why should some highly paid people tell us what we have in our town? Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh, it does make sense. That's true. But what are you going to do about it? So they decided they would just set up their own council, which they did. They voted some people in. They worked out a system amongst themselves that seemed to be fair. And then they said, why don't we pay the money that we would pay to the council to our own trust fund that we'll set up so that we're the beneficiaries, we're the executive of that, and the council can be the trustees who have to actually do everything, but we're going to run it. So they did that, and effectively it said to the council, because you're not doing what we want, we've got another council, thanks very much, goodbye. Made them irrelevant. So I made this video basically suggesting it was an allegory. Obviously Biggleswick doesn't exist. It exists in my mind. I've actually registered the name biggleswick.co.uk because I would like to put together a website that shows what could be possible, I think, if people united and got together and did something. And funnily enough, in Thetford, they have set up a shadow council now to put the council on notice. They are the original Biggleswick. These people in power, they rely, it seems to me, on everybody acquiescing and funding them. I don't know why they need any of our money, because it seems they can print it themselves. I mean, it is a nonsense. They keep sort of saying, well, we need your money to fund this, we need your money to fund that. Well, you've got the print machines, you go and fund it. We've got lives to live, we've got our country to look after. So that's what Biggleswick and many of the other suggestions, and one of them, sort of realising what Chris and his fellow people are doing, is put the council on notice, because we need to fight them at a very local level. So you put the council on notice, you say to them, we are scrutinising what you do. We live here. Why wouldn't we want to know? We have an opinion. And then the second half of your meeting is to say, well, actually, what do we want? And you ask all the people who are interested, anybody who wants to get involved, what do we actually want in our town? Do we want the parks open longer? Do we want more money helping the community centres and the pubs to be open so that we're not closed down?